we can talk about this. Like, you identify with this. I know I did a lot in my life. Like, man, I wish I served, or I wanted to serve, or I almost served.
I say that all the time. I really wish I did.
Yep.
I was too immature back
Whatever.
then. I should have though.
Yeah. It's and even at, like, what is it? Whatever the stat is, less than like 2% of our country serves in the military.
Yeah.
So 98% of our country can identify with, man, I almost did, or I wanted to, but I had a girlfriend, or whatever, whatever it may be that like led 98% of the population to not do this one thing.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Frank, cheers. I got my Polar Seltzer tonight. Cigar.
I had an energy drink before, so I'm skipping any more drinks.
You're one of those guys, I don't think you really need an energy drink.
No.
Kind of helps us focus though, right?
Yeah, I feel like it dials me in.
Yeah,
Like, just gets me like just geared up.
But you're already pretty amped up. Yeah. The first time I met you, Brian Rakowski, who's in the pit as well. Yep. He brought you over. We had this quick little, that week I threw like a quick little happy hour. Yep. I think there was like 30 people here or something. And you came in and you're out, you're walking on your toes.
Oh yeah.
And you were going to do some, charity event. And you're very charitable.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're gonna get into that stuff as well. And I was like, I like that guy. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's gonna get in the pit. I like him. And then you just kind of kept showing up. And social media is funny that way. And that's why everybody out there who's watching this should get on social media and be doing content if you have a business, or if you want to just grow your own personal influence for a job. And I don't know where we ran into each other again, but
the pit. I joined the pit.
But I'm saying, maybe, it was Jamie's gala.
Event. Yes.
Jamie's
Clean
gala.
Bro. Yep.
It's kind of, you sat with us, you and Jill, and I was just like, dude, get in the pit, man. Like, you're doing something cool. Yep. You're building yourself an off-ramp, which we're going to get into with your business and what you do full-time and a little bit of your background. But I'm glad you're here.
Love it.
You served this country. You did some political stuff.
Yep.
You're still working some type of government affairs with JCP now.
Yep.
And I'm happy to have you on, dude.
I mean, what's better than sitting around a fire on a Thursday night?
What's more American?
Talking about life.
You know what's funny, off topic, my ADD kicks in. So when we first started doing it was just YouTube, because we wanted to be different. And this is something that Patrick Bet-David pointed out. He was like, aesthetically, it's different. I like the set, it grabs the eye. And that was the whole idea when we first started. And people were like, yeah, but I drive a lot. Like, I wish it was on Spotify. So then we added it to Spotify and Apple. And what quickly started to happen, and this is how kind of business in general goes. You do one step and then these other layers open up and you got to decide which lane you want to go down. So as we put it on Spotify, people are like, it's so cool when I'm listening and I hear the crickets or the train or the fire crackling. Auditorily, it allows me to kind of be there in the yard with you guys. And I never thought about shit that way, to be honest with you. I'm not a sound major. I don't know cameras. So what's more American than this?
I mean, it's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Summertime's even better. We got the lawn grown in. Get some beers going.
Yep. Summertime in a fire pit, man. I mean, that's like growing up, isn't it? Like, there is no more freedom, especially, I mean,
Central, South Jersey, for sure.
Both Ocean County guys. Like, there is no more freedom than that, like, Friday or Saturday night where, like, you're out in the woods with your boys.
Couple beers.
Somebody's got a fire going, and you're like, man, you're with your lady.
Quads.
Yep. Quads running around. Somebody's pickup truck or Jeep is stuck in the mud, and nothing. I mean,
cops coming.
Yeah. You know the exit to the woods better than the cops do. Oh yeah.
Talk about running from the cops in the woods. I would get scared at times because you just get split up, and now you're in a part of these deep woods where you're like, where the fuck am I? Am I gonna like lose my way? And thankfully, I had this uncanny ability. I never did. I kind of knew where I was for some reason.
Running through. There were these woods across the street from our house in Waretown, on Bay Parkway, and bro, I literally felt like from all the manhunt and like hide and go seek you played, and like how many times you cut through those woods. I literally felt I could run through those woods with my eyes closed, and like make it, because you knew it. You got to know it.
Yeah.
You got to know it. It really.
So obviously, Waretown guy.
Yeah.
Grew up down there. Mom and dad, siblings.
Yep.
To fast track kind of your life, went through elementary school down there.
Waretown Mariners represent.
Waretown.
Where'd you remind me?
Brick.
That's
Brick.
right. Yep.
The Dragons.
Big city. You're a big city guy.
Brick City,
compared
baby.
to us Waretown guys. Brick was like a. That was like a. Oh man, we're going to the city today, Tom's River, and if we're, really.
See, we were
going-
mixed between you guys and a little bit more of a city guy. They call
That's
it,
right.
Brick-tucky. So
Brick-tucky sometimes.
don't
Yeah,
give us too much credit.
But dude, to Waretown, you're like,
yeah, I
you're
know.
big city.
Yeah, I hear you. But went to Stockton.
Yep.
Graduated from Stockton.
Yep.
Came out. While you were at Stockton, you were a full-time, picked up the phone calls for the
Yeah, I
police
worked for.
department.
I was a police dispatcher in college.
Dispatcher.
That was a wild. That was fun. I mean, fun. I learned a ton. I mean, think about being like 19 years old. I was active in the community, coaching, reffing basketball. Doing all that, and going to school during the day. And a lot of times I would work like 7 at night to 3 in the morning. Then like a couple years into college, we went to 12-hour shifts. And, you're busy, especially as a young guy. And, you're like having to go to work at night with like grown adults in that environment. And like when you're a police dispatcher, like we always talk about like connectivity and how do you connect and where do you learn those skills? Like, dude, if you're a police dispatcher, and especially when you're like 18 to 22, you have no option but to connect.
Yeah.
You got to be able to listen to a screaming person on the phone whose father's having a heart attack, a cop who's got a DUI guy pulled over who just went running in the woods, and then the 911 alarm goes off. So that was like an incredible, like, learning.
It's great for your ADD.
Oh, dude, trust me. I joke about.
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. I joke about it all the time. Like, you cannot like. If you don't have ADD, like you would have a very difficult time being a dispatcher.
Yeah.
Like you.
Brain would get tired quick.
Yes.
I think you're naturally a communicator.
I'm trying, man.
I think politics probably helped you with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Your current job.
Yep.
I don't want to get into it fully yet, but you said I'm always involved in the community. So you talk about back in college, I'm always involved in the community. What drove you to be so community oriented?
Right. I think I saw what it did for me, and being a part of athletics, when I was a kid. And look, every kid who's ever played football or baseball or basketball, like I had such fond memories of that as a kid. And even now, like as we fast forward to like all the sports stuff, and I was listening to Tom Brady today, and he was on the kid who cuts the hair. I hate that I forget his name because he's got a podcast. He cuts hair. He's a young guy, like 24 years old, and Brady did his podcast, and I was listening to it, and Brady talked about like sports are like one of those things in our society that just brings people together in a positive way for the most part.
Yeah,
Obviously you get
for sure.
knuckleheads at
Yeah.
games and like guys throwing beers at kids, but. And I think that's kind of what like it always meant to me. Like, I was never the greatest athlete in the world, or it just. But I always enjoyed that sense of community, and
It shapes kids.
it does. It does. And I can remember when I was a kid and like crazy funny. So I got a baseball at a Yankee game from Don Mattingly. The next year, I'm like 10 years old, and I bring that baseball with me to opening day at Yankee Stadium. And would you imagine that Don Mattingly signed that baseball for me?
It's awesome.
Like it's still on my desk,
Yeah.
and that's like even with the autograph stuff now and all these events, like if you can create, like I don't care, the flex of hanging out with a pro athlete's cool, right? Like anybody
course,
thinks that's
yeah.
cool, but like those memories you're creating over and over and over again for kids, for
Compounds.
yeah, dude, and it matters.
Yeah. It
matters to
It
people.
lacks in society today. Definitely lacks in society.
And the camaraderie of it, the community. So I think, even when I was young and I was coaching at like 17 years old, I had no kids in the league. I had no little brother at that point who I was coaching. But I always felt like if I was involved in that, I was doing something that not only made a difference for the kids, but for me.
Yeah.
And you're a guy who helps a lot of people do a lot of different things, including me. And like, when you help somebody, it helps you.
Yeah,
like
it does. It's discouraging at times too,
Yeah.
right? I want to give an example. I think that you need all of these people. And I put out this post recently, and I'll reshare it. It was, 6 ways to be a better American. And like, one of them was like, be a coach in the community.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm a perfect coach for the community. I'll be wanting to fist fight parents that are acting out of line when this is all about the kids. And it is difficult for those coaches that deal with difficult parents and situations with kids. But we need those leaders in the community. And you also need the guy that's making money and funds the league. And you also need the guy like Trump who's going up there and trying to help save this country. So it takes all Americans to turn around and help people. And it starts with your local community. And you're doing a lot of that. You're very charitable with the homeless in Asbury, the Covenant House.
Yeah.
I see you every few times a week. You're going over to Tent City.
Yeah, I try once a week. That organization, Ryan, that is like Jersey Shore Dream Center.
And we're jumping around a little bit, but I don't
who
care.
gives a hell? Jersey Shore Dream Center, they have a mobile food pantry, which you wouldn't necessarily like even think like, oh, well, if you have a food pantry, people can just come pick up food. Well, so many people who are food insecure, especially in our area, are living in area motels. You know, the ones that, as a kid growing up, you drive by and like, oh, you can't go there. You know, like it's, and even I try one of my non-negotiables in my calendar is like Wednesday afternoon from like 11 to 1, which, you know, call it a lunch break. And I try to go out with those guys every Wednesday. And there's about 7 stops that they make to area motels. And the final, one of the final stops is Covenant House, you know, where we bring hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of groceries to the Covenant House in Asbury Park, where they have 2 homes. One houses 5 girls, the other houses 5 boys. And these kids have to buy their own groceries in a lot of instances, or they rely on donations. So every Wednesday to get boxes upon boxes of food dropped off makes a real difference to these kids. And those kids have lived terror of their lives have been, you know, really difficult. But the Jersey Shore Dream Center, man, the work that those people do is, and I'm not crying because of that, I got a little smoke in my eye.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, the
right,
work,
if you want to cry for us.
No, look, I'll tell you, I mean, there's
it does
times,
stuff you, I'm sure, yeah.
There's times where, like, you go on that on a Wednesday. You should come one time because I think you'd add value to it and you'd get value out of it.
Can we film it?
Yeah.
I don't mean that like selfishly, but I mean,
you
just
can
create more awareness.
Yep, and that's it. Like, and that's even with the Dream Center. You know, I'm just a volunteer there. I try to help them out as much as I can. And dude, you know, like you see, it's a Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning, and you see like a parent come out of the hotel room with 2 kids that are your daughter's age. You know, and like they walk out, and it's like the first thing is like, man, I hope this kid's okay. And I'd say most of the time they are.
Yeah.
Then it's like, wait, why isn't that kid in school?
Yeah.
Wait, that kid's literally running over to us to get a bottle of water. And like,
has he had water in a while?
has he drank a bottle of water today?
Yeah.
You know, like, or you get to give him a bag of Doritos and he's hugging it.
Yeah.
Bro, like, imagine like a 6-year-old kid is hugging a bag of Doritos in the parking lot of a motel.
Yeah, we're so spoiled as Americans, dude. Like, we don't. We take everything for granted.
Yep.
Those are really, really amazing things that you're doing. And this whole movement is about turning around and helping the next guy or girl or kid in line. And you embody that. And that's kind of what led you into the next phase of your life, which was politics after college and leaving the police department. You know, why politics? Why did you want to get involved? What brought you there?
I was in high school, and my baseball coach was involved locally in Waretown. And, you know, I'd help out with the campaigns. I really, again, it like goes back to that like community, that sense of belonging, that like sense of being a part of something bigger than you know? And, you know, I just kind of like was involved in like college Republicans and stuff in college. Like I was a Republican, and, you know.
Why did you have like a passion for that though? It was just, were you studying it? Or,
no, I was a political science major, but that was only because like going into my junior year of college, I had a meeting with my preceptor, and he's like, dude, like if you want to get out of here on time, you need to pick a major.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, like what could I pick? And he's like, look, you have enough classes that you could graduate on time in political science. So I was interested in it. I never thought I'd work in it. And after college, I was working for the Department of Defense, and I got a call from somebody who was like, hey, I know a state senator in Deep South Jersey who needs somebody to run their campaign. And I'm like, all right, like what's that look like? Like what's the salary? And they told me the salary. I'm like, dude, that's like a lot less than I'm making right now. And I'll never forget, the lady's like, well, are you happy? And I'm like, kind of bored, right? Like, DOD job, sitting at a desk at Fort Monmouth. And I'm like, I'm really not. She's like, well, go meet with the guy. I went down, dude. Right, like 2 weeks later, I was living in an old abandoned horse farm house in Buna. And I was working for this guy running for state senate. And we lost that campaign. Dude got outspent like by millions of dollars being a Republican in New Jersey. Then I went to go work for a U.S. Senate candidate. She ended up dropping out of the race. So that's race number 2. I lost. I'm like, I leave this great job with the DOD and like I'm unemployed twice in 7 months. Then I go to work for a guy who's running for Congress. He loses the primary. I'm like, man, I'm about as good at this as
I suck.
You know, like what do you do? You know, but little did I realize that whole time, like really none of the races I was involved with were we supposed to win. Mm-hmm. But I was learning. I was like, you know, we talk about like hustling, man. Like whether it was putting together yard signs or, you know, setting up rallies or fundraisers. Knocking on doors, making phone calls. And
I pointed this out a couple times. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go door knock, but there's something about the Mormon water out west, dude. Those Utah guys and girls, you know, from a young age, they're taught throughout their religion to like go knock doors and talk about what they're doing and go on mission trips. And they all hustle, man. There's something about being able to get out, connect with some people, knock on some doors, pick up some phones, and do that at a high volume rate.
Yeah, especially as a younger, you know, at that point, younger person, like, you know, you're 23 and you're knocking on like some 67-year-old woman's house in Vineland. Mm-hmm. What do I have in common with that person?
Yeah.
I better figure it out quick.
Yeah.
You know, because if she answers that door, I may be the only representation she ever sees of that campaign that's not a TV ad or like a piece
of that
mail.
product you're trying to sell, whatever
exactly.
it is.
Yeah, and so you learn quick like that, like, and I think my involvement as a kid, like coaching and being involved in youth sports with adults, like I was always okay with that. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, yeah, I might be and I see it now, like even in sports now, like with the professional athletes, like I'm older than those guys, but I'm younger than the business owner that we're trying to book them with, or you know, their agent. You know, I'm dealing with guys who work at Shohei Ohtani's agency. Imagine the phone calls those guys get. You know, and then I got to come in and be authentic and back up what I'm doing and make sure you treat their athlete with care and kindness and, you know, like not trying to swindle anybody. You
all
know,
those skills that you developed. I don't want to get off track, so we're going to get to the sports, but
got it.
So take us down the track of where you landed a win.
Yeah, so I mean the politics, we lost those 3. Then I was working for a county party in Ocean County Republican Party, which was one of the best jobs I ever had. Great boss at the time. And then I got a call to go work for Chris Christie, who was running for governor. And it was very similar to that Buna thing. You know, I had the great job with Ocean County Republicans. I could probably still be there, honestly, you know, and never have lost a race at this point, right? Like, it's Ocean County. And the call to go work for Chris Christie in Bergen, Essex, Hudson, and Passaic County.
Yeah, so completely away from everything you know.
And, dude, the office was in Parsippany. My cousin lived in Morristown. And I got that call, and I'm like, you know, similar money, but like, dude, that job could only been for 3 or 5 months, whatever the timing of it was. I remember I called my cousin, I'm like, dude, like I might have to move up there for this.
Whoa. Yeah, keep that on camera.
Hell yeah.
I saw a light coming. I didn't know if it was the lights above us or
the,
what it was.
The end of life.
Maybe it was
like
a nuke was sent.
Never know. The chemtrail.
Keep going.
Yeah, man. So, like, I remember I took that job with Chris Christie, which at that point to me felt like I was getting a call from the big leagues.
Yeah.
You know, I was working in a county party. Now I'm on a statewide race. 40% of election day in New Jersey comes from those 4 counties. Mm-hmm. So that was like an incredible, like, jump.
Task.
Yeah. And
you're obviously up for it. You took it.
Yep, I took it, and I moved into my cousin's porch. He had like a foyer. And I remember, dude, I get up there, I set up a futon bed, a little, like, nightstand, and, like, a rail that went from one wall to the other to hang my clothes. And all my other clothes were underneath my futon. dude, you're living out of your car, you're sleeping in hotels,
You're hustling.
Yeah, yep. And Chris Christie won, and dude, that was like, we had an office in Newark on that campaign, and I'll never forget this guy, man. His name was Derek, and big guy, big black guy, dreads. Like, he walks in the headquarters one day, and look, like, that could be intimidating for some people. For me, it wasn't. Like, it just, I was like, dude, what's going on, man? Like, what brings it here? He's like, man, if Chris Christie don't win, I ain't gonna ever get a job. That's all he said. Like, and dude, that guy helped us out on the campaign, and on election day, Derek and I needed help. Like, I needed someone. I'm like in Jersey City, Patterson, Newark. I need some help. And I called Derek up, and we had ways to pay guys through like the campaign, which is very up and up, and like, you just get out the vote checks, whatever. I call him up, I'm like, Derek, man, like, can you spend a day with me on election day? And like, I had to go Jersey City, Patterson, and Newark all day. It's like, Frankie, I got you, bro. I pick him up like 7:30 in the morning, and like, that was a learning experience, driving around. And it's funny, like at lunchtime, he said to me, we're eating lunch in Patterson or something. He's like, bro, you didn't need me to come with you, like, he's like, you got a hood pass, know, and that was interesting, because as a kid from Ocean County, to be able to go up there and like navigate and not be afraid or like,
it's a different culture.
It is, dude. It sure is. I mean,
that's the craziest thing about this country and the whole race bullshit.
Yep.
I personally don't believe anybody my age, even your age, is. I think a large share of Americans aren't racist. I know there's still racism in the country and in the world, but there is way more racist countries than America. But like, I grew up in Bricktown. I didn't grow up in Patterson. I didn't grow up in Newark. But rap's my favorite music, and I've been able to kind of relate in different ways, and then you start to get and meet friends that are from these areas you didn't grow up, and you just have a conversation and realize, like, hey, we're really not that much different, right? You may party different, you may dress different, you may have different color hair, but we're not different.
Yeah, and I think,
quickly, if you can, just like you level set with that old lady, you can quickly level set with anybody, dude, from any place.
And that's where I think, there's got to be respect for people's individual journeys, and that's where I think sometimes just the bigger, broader conversation gets a little bit lost. Is like, dude, my experience as a white kid from Waretown, New Jersey is different than a black kid from Newark. It just is. His life is different than what mine is.
He wouldn't know what the fuck to do down in Waretown.
And I wouldn't know what to do in Newark. But you know what? Like,
he's like, white boy, where the fuck did you take me?
But that's it. It's like, it's
just different cultures,
yes,
different ways of life.
Yeah, if we can all just like agree that, like, hey.
I got PTSD now. I think this fucking light's gonna fall.
I got you, bro. I'm gonna jump over the fire if I need to. But yeah, just like acknowledging that people have different lives growing up, and there's different societal things that contribute to it. Like,
that's what makes the world go round.
I agree.
So anyway, he wins. Did you go and work with Christie?
Yes. So I was in the governor's office, in and out of the governor's office a little bit for about 4.5 years. And
what'd you do there?
Coalition stuff. Dealing with elected officials in that area of the state. Then I was kind of doing a lot of coalition stuff, which again put me in very diverse rooms, whether it was, a Jewish community event in Lakewood or, an event with black pastors in Patterson. It was, again, like, here I am, like, in it.
Community building, more or less.
Yep. Building relationships and,
bringing people together.
Yeah. And behind a message for a guy you're working for, and that was something that, and Chris Christie was always great to me, dude. Like, I know
he lives around the block.
What's that?
He lives
got a spot. Yeah. It was always great to me.
Make sure he comes on the podcast. Tell him about it.
Ask him. We'll tell him. We'll FaceTime him. He might answer, but I don't want to do that.
Because
that's like, I'll get the call.
Tell him this podcast is around the block from his summer
I'll get the call tomorrow, like, Luna, what the hell was that? But look, he's a guy who gave me an incredible opportunity, and to get involved in that first campaign. And then
I think he's disliked for stupid reasons, right? At the time he said something that needed to be said, and sometimes you shoot the messenger, right? And he went after pensions with teachers and health insurance, but he was not wrong in saying that. And again, he's a Jersey guy, so he's like me. He's forward,
man.
right? And that could rub people the wrong way. But I think he was also really loved. Obviously, he's the last Republican to get elected here. Hopefully, we can get another one elected this year. Sorry, Murphy. And
Look, he can't run again, so.
yeah, well, I'm just if it's his buddy, his buddy over there in Jersey City, maybe. But I thought he was. Yeah,
dude,
guy.
look, and again, it's like I try to tell people all the time about politics. Like, I got to see these
It's
guys.
shitty. It's
It
dirty.
sucks. It sucks. It does, and it is dirty. And
Matt, can I have another polar, please?
Matt, if you're buying, I'll do one of those. I mean, got to keep up with this guy.
That's why I smoked these darker cigars.
bet. And dude, it's like you get to know these guys a little. Like, you're a Cowboys fan.
Yep.
We're at a Giant Cowboy game. Now, I'm a Giants fan, and I'm in the governor's box, which even, again, like as a kid from Waretown, New Jersey, being in the governor's box of the
fucking
Giants,
awesome.
insane. And
And anybody who would make fun of that or say anything different, like
you're
yeah,
a
hater.
jabroni. Exactly, hater, exactly. And like the Giants made a huge play, and I'm like, Christie's here, then there's the aisle, and I'm here. Like we're sitting outside watching the game.
Christie's a Cowboys fan too.
I know he is. Oh, trust me, I know. So Giants make a huge play. I get up, and I may have like celebrated in his direction. And then,
Were they playing the Cowboys?
oh yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
And he's like, hey, Luna. And he like grabs me by my shirt. It's not like in an aggressive manner, just like gives me a little tug. He's like, there's a little laundry on the field. There was a flag. The flag comes back. Like, oh man, like that's just like one of those things.
Cool
like,
memory though.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to know these guys a little bit as humans. You get to see him as a father,
Yeah.
a son. His dad lived in Waretown when I did. So I got to know his dad really well. But again, dude, good family, always took great care of me. And then after that, what did I do? Oh, then I worked on the boardwalk in Asbury Park for a little while. That's always kind of like been a place I go back to, and was just working at a beach bar there for a summer and a fall. And then I started working for Congressman Tom MacArthur. Again, like another wow, how the hell did this happen experience.
Excuse me. Yeah, and you actually got to meet Trump.
Oh yeah,
with Tom.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
Dude's cool. I mean, again, some people hate him, some people love him. I'll vote for him in this next year. I mean,
What's your other choice?
Yeah, and it's just he was cool. Like the one time I was at Bedminster, and it was an event for the congressman I was working for. It was a fundraiser, and I'm in the room with Trump where they're all taking photos. These people paid a lot of money to meet Trump. At that point, and I'm rapping a little bit with the guy. Telling him the next person in line is the Recreation Fishing Alliance guy who works with Viking Yacht, and I'm making sure Trump has some
background.
Yeah. And I'm just saying it, because I know these guys who are writing the checks and hanging out, and Trump, I could tell, you could see that he was digging it, he's
it was helping him.
Yeah, and he was into it. So when I got introduced to him after, at that point I'd shaken his hand and got been introduced, and when I got introduced after, he slapped me on the arm. He's great head of hair, kid. I had long hair to my shoulders, like a knucklehead, and he had to tell me I had a great head of hair. But there was a period where they brought in a bunch of cops that were working the detail that day, and that guy lit up so much, when he saw those guys in uniform at the end of this line.
He's patriotic.
Yeah, and I think, he respected, he was excited to see, and again, not that he was not happy to see the guys from Viking Yacht. Trust me, his brother, I think, had a Viking. But
of course.
And they're great. I mean, that family, the Healy family, I don't know if you know them. They are.
Heard of them.
Yes,
I
they are
don't know them.
amazing, dude. Right, they're amazing people. But,
They should
Trump's-
also get on the podcast.
all right. Trump is, he sees these cops, man, and you would think that he knew them for 30 years, and that was interesting. Another time I met him at the debate, some point in 2016 in Cleveland, and again, very similar experience. He was just really cool to the people I was around, and get to see him operating and meeting him in that capacity was neat. So yeah, I mean, meeting him a few times. I mean, I remember walking through the Capitol, the United States Capitol, with the congressman that I was working for at the time, T-Mac, and he gets a phone call, and I forget what it was, but it's from the White House, on your cell phone, I guess, especially if you've been called by the White House before, which I have, but not this line in the White House. Yeah. And we're walking through the Capitol, and he answers the phone, and it's Mr. McCarthy is yes. They're please hold, President Trump. Bro, we're walking through the Capitol building, and then he goes into Speaker Paul Ryan's office. And I'm like, first of all, like, that's even crazy to, like, be walking through that hallway. And we're like, can I use the conference room? And, like, we walk in, like, and the speaker's in the hallway, like, just talking to somebody. And I'm like, what planet is this? Like, and then we go into the conference room, and Tom was just so cool, man. Like, so he knew, like, he put Trump on speaker, you know, and because he knew I would want to hear it, you know, like, that's one of those things that you may never
get to experience.
Be on the, like, listening to the president on the phone and, like, a private and it was about, like, a policy thing. And it was just like, that was an experience.
Cool experience.
Yeah.
Again, it's, you know, you're going back to, and this is a gem I want to point out and a nugget. Like, when you're raised, wherever you're raised, this kid from Newark, you from Waretown, me from Bricktown, you're put on a limiter in your head.
Dude, yes.
And you don't see people who are talking to the person in the White House, and you think the White House is like 8 trillion miles away from here in a sense of you could touch it. You could touch anything you desire in this world if you go and put a little bit of effort, a little bit of hustle, and a little bit of grit behind it. And I fucking mean that, you know, to the core. And at times I forget what mission I'm on because you just get derailed. Life is fucking hectic. Business is hectic. And you were a kid that was sitting there in the White House, or in the Capitol building, I'm sorry, on that phone call going like, I got a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like,
yeah, dude.
Am I supposed to be here? This is pretty cool, you know? And that's a really cool shit. But I don't want to spend a ton of more time on politics. You leave politics, you take a job with JCP&L doing government affairs, which only makes sense.
Well, I mean, the funny part is I leave politics, Tom loses, I go on a little, like, sabbatical in a 1985 Volkswagen van down in Florida, which was as cool as you would think it is. And at that, I wrote in a journal, I want to get a job for, like, I want to get a company job. Like, at that point, I was kind of done with the X's and O's of, like, the day-to-day politics, having to find a different job every 6 months. Like, that wear, you know, like, as you get older, that wears you.
Oh,
and I wanted to serve in the military, you know, and that was something that, like, dude, I'm in my gym, at a gym in Bradley Beach, Jersey Shore Fitness Shop. It's whatever night, it was very late at night, and I called a recruiter. I'd never even expected the recruiter to answer. And
I'm glad you brought us back to this because I almost skipped over it.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's just part of the
story.
Yeah, the journey. I mean, and I call a recruiter. I'm like, hey, man, like, I'd really like to join the military. He's like, all right, well, that's easy. Like, what's your name? Where do you live? What's your date of birth? And I told him. He started laughing. He's like, is this a joke? And I'm like, no, why? Like, what's... He's like, bro, you missed the cutoff. I'm like, what do you mean I missed the cutoff? And he's like...
You weren't aware at that time? It was like 28, 27?
35. I was not aware. I didn't think... I thought it was maybe 4... Like, I didn't even think that might be a thing, you know? And I'll never forget. I hung up that phone call. I'm like, damn. Like, that quick, the guy's like, dude, you're done. Like, you know. I'll never forget, man. I hit up my guy, Ryan Peters, who was...
Before you go any further, I'll stop you for one quick. We've got to shut off the cameras and we'll come right back. All right, hopping back in, so you keep us rolling.
So I called my buddy Ryan Peters, who's a member of the Assembly, and he was a Navy SEAL. And he just became a buddy through politics. Him and I were collecting petition signatures in, like, 2008 or 2012, whatever. Probably 2008, like, with a clipboard. And, like, him and I are, like, standing there and we're talking, and he's about my age. And I call him, like, Rod, you know, like, anything about this age waiver thing? He's like, yeah, well, or do you know anything about this age limit thing? He's like, yeah, I do, and I know that there's a waiver, and I know that I would make any phone call or help you in any way, but if I get you in, you're going. Like, that's not like a vanity, like, oh, I tried. Like, if I get you in,
you got to go.
Yeah, now, dude, that was like that was a real gut check time, because especially as a guy who was like always, and we can talk about this, like, you identify with this. I know I did a lot of my life. Like, man, I wish I served, or I wanted to serve, or I almost served.
I say that all the time. I really wish I did.
Yep.
I was too immature back
Whatever,
then. I should have, though.
Yeah, it's, and even at, like, what is it? Whatever the stat is, less than like 2% of our country serves in the military.
Yeah.
So 98% of our country can identify with, man, I almost did, or I wanted to, but I had a girlfriend, or whatever, whatever it may be that like led 98% of the population to not do this one thing. And I remember when Ryan said that, and I'm like, dude, I'm in. I'm going. If you get me in, like 2 days later, I get a phone call from a recruiter in Atlantic City. He's like, bro, I don't know who you know, but I was told to get you on a bus to boot camp. I'm like, cool, man, let's do it. And at the time, I'm like training, I'm like doing all this stuff, I'm trying to find a job, and I'm like interviewing. I interview with JCP&L. I'm like through the process, and then I get the job offer. And I remember I told who the guy who would become my boss. I was in Florida when he called me to give me the job offer. Actually, at a mechanics, because the van was just like on its last leg at that point, dude. And the guy's like, "Look, man, you got to put like $2,000 in this thing just to like move." I'm like, "Well, I need to get it where I'm going, and it's cheaper to do what you got to do than to ship it." And dude, I remember that day. I get a phone call from this guy offering me the job at JCP&L, and I'm like, "Look, man, I would like to take the job. I have to be honest with you though. Like, I'm in the process of potentially joining the military." And the guy's like, "What? Like, what does that even mean?" I'm like, it means I'm taking the job if I can, but like, if I get in this military thing, like, I got to go. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And little do I realize, like, he can't not give me the job at that point because of the military thing. That's like violates every law in America. So my first day of work at JCP&L, you cannot make it up. I will show you the text message. I get a call from the recruiter and a text. "Good news. You're going."
Wow.
My very first day of work at JCP&L. And like the crazy part in all of it, like I decided to go enlisted infantry instead, and it was for the Army National Guard. And I decided to go enlisted infantry instead of like officer and intelligence or something like that. I wanted to be like a knuckle dragging, like, grunt, bottom of the barrel enlisted guy. And like, when I started the process, it was a 14-week commitment. Right, I was with Jill at the time, and I get the note with my orders. And she's like, "That's not 14 weeks. It was 22. Mm-hmm. They changed the infantry school, or the infantry one-station unit training from 14 to 22 weeks. So in my brain, I'm like, dude, I got this beautiful woman, I got this new job, I haven't signed the paperwork yet, but like, dude, Ryan, a guy who's left his family how many times to go overseas while I'm like puking at Lake Fred at Stockton.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's like, bro, if I get you in, you got to go. If I get you in, you got to go. And like, dude, again, because every part of me is like, bro, another 2 months.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, like how authentic can I live the rest of my life if I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, like something came up, I got this great 6-figure job and a beautiful woman. Yeah.
And you graduated.
Graduated. I mean,
how was your overall experience in the military?
It was fun. I mean, it was, I say all the time, like, I joined very late. Like, I remember when I first get off the bus at Fort Benning, I'm wearing a Jimmy Buffett t-shirt. And I'm like, bro, I'm 36. Like, I'm double the age of a lot of the kids there. And thank God I was in pretty solid shape. And I get off the bus, and this drill sergeant's like, "Are you lost? Are you effing lost?" I'm like, man, my life is going to be misery for the next 6 months. And, bro, again, like, connecting. Like, you have that split second in sales and politics to, like, either connect or not. And I'm like, "No, drill sergeant, just a little bit late." And I'm like, dude, I'm dead. Like, I'm like, I shouldn't have said anything. Bro, this guy, like, and I tell, like, some of the old school military guys the story, like, oh, military's soft. And I'm like, dude, this guy had no other option than to do what he did. He looks back at me, and he kind of, like, smirked a little bit, and just walked away. Like, and that was it. And at that point, I'm like, all right, like, these guys are human. And, like, bro, I will say this until I take my last breath. Drill sergeants, at least the ones that I got to see and experience that were all Army infantry guys, most of them multiple combat deployments, highly decorated, younger than me. Mm-hmm. The guys who spent 20 years fighting a war while I was, drinking beer in my Jeep. Those guys are on a level that I just, like, the highest level of anything. I mean, they know everything and what they don't know, they can figure out. And their command of their subject matter experts and their presentation, their fitness levels, their mental ability.
That's where a lot of people that leave the military that are officers and they're not, that old, they go and have a lot of success in the private sector.
If I ever
Discipline, man.
Yeah, yep. Those drill sergeants, bro, they are like, there is no, I've never met a profession, maybe professional athletes, but again, that's like a different thing. Bro, like drill sergeants to me are like the cream of the crop of this planet. Like they just are like, they're there before you, they're there after you, they're doing what you're doing, And again, because I was an infantry guy, like almost all of our drill sergeants were infantry. I think all of them were. And most of them had multiple combat deployments, and like the stuff I would learn from that. I didn't need the discipline. You know what I mean? Like I was a pretty squared away 36-year-old guy when I got there. Like if my alarm's set, I'm getting up, like I know how to tie my shoes. I know how to make a bed. I didn't necessarily need the discipline, but the lessons I learned from those guys and the way
They have a lot of wisdom.
Dude. Yep.
I was out at an event in Utah in January, and Andy Stump.
Yeah.
Andy Stump.
Yep.
He's got a pretty big podcast now. He's friends with Tim Kennedy and Jocko and all those guys. He was on Rogan a couple times. He was there, and he did a presentation as a speaker. And it was just kind of going through the basics of the SEALs and the thought process and execution. And again, it was a business-style presentation, right? Because he is in business now. But he went back and ran the SEAL camps.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he talked about what they would try to do, and everything was based on fucking you hear.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have never served in the military, so I can't say the drill sergeants are the best, but it would make complete sense.
Yeah.
You're coming back, you're looking to still pass that on to the next wave of people coming in.
Well, you're a natural coach. So, and I think the thing I didn't realize when I got there was that I was going to be in the same bay with the same 60 dudes, the same drill sergeants for 6 months of my life. And you get to know each other. And those guys, you're a coach. Those guys are coaches in a sense. Like you get to the point with them where they kind of say like, "Oh, we're taking the hat off," And at that point they become coaches, mentors. Some kids didn't know how to write letters.
Yeah.
And these grown ass men, these drill sergeants are like teaching them like, "Yo, this is where you write your name on the envelope when you're sending a letter." Helping them get their benefits stuff set up.
Something maybe a father would do.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have one or.
Yep. But that 6 months was like, I mean, again, I did 3 years in the Army National Guard. Thankfully, my unit is currently deployed over in the Middle East. Had I re-enlisted a couple years ago, I would have been in where they are right now, which is something you struggle with that too. Like that's something that I talk to a lot of military guys because it's like, man, the guys I was in the military with in my unit are overseas right now, and we're sitting drinking a freaking polar seltzer around a fire pit talking about how cool we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, shit, those kids are over there, you know? And that, like watching that even unfold a little bit on social media, like the dads leaving their kids, and it's like, fuck, man. Like that's like...
It hit you.
It does.
You were down in D.C. too during January 6th, right?
I got there like a few days after. That was my only real experience with, getting activated. I think technically it's a deployment. I struggle to call it one because we're staying in a hotel, not a fob or whatever. And I got there. I guess that happened on like a Wednesday. I think we got there Sunday. Surreal experience because I had been in Congress as a staffer. So I'm used to kind of walking those halls, and when everybody woke up and saw like all those military guys and gals sleeping on the floor of the Capitol, like I was one of those people. And like I'll never forget, I was on the back steps of the Capitol that I had walked multiple times. I remember walking it with like Trey Gowdy once, when we were leaving one day and bumped into him, and I'm literally like loading my M4 on the steps of the United States Capitol, and I'm like, what planet is it? It was just so bizarre. Like, having walked those hallways as a staffer, sleeping on the ground, like.
What happened there? Like, there's so many people that talk about it was a complete purposeful failure by Park Police. There was calls at the top that could have rolled in the National Guard way prior to this, and that was kind of shot down by Pelosi. And you hear all these things. There was a ton of FBI in the crowd. And again, by no means am I an expert.
I get it, yep.
I did not study any fucking tape. You see all these different things online. There's conspiracy theories. But it seemed to be a complete failure where they just let people roll in, and it's almost like they wanted this to happen.
I think, look, the first night we got there, I was talking to a cop, a Capitol Police guy, who had a black eye and was like, you know, like you meet a guy and you could tell like he's shaking. Like, and I'm talking to this guy, it's like middle of the night, it's freezing, it's January in Washington, D.C., you know, and I got called on like Friday, and they're like, yo, like you're going to D.C. I'm like, when? They're like, tomorrow morning. I'm like, bro, it's Friday. Like, what do you mean? Like, I have a job. You know, like, and it's tough to understand. Like, bro, I'm sending you your orders. Like, you have to be here.
Yeah, you got to go.
You have to be here 08 tomorrow. Like,
why are you arguing?
Yeah, call your boss. Like, you're going to Washington, D.C. I'm like, how long? Like, what's the packing list? I don't know. Everything. Like, all right, welcome to the Army. You know, and so I'm like, I call my boss. I call Jill. I'm like, hey, I'm on my way over. Like, I got to talk to you guys. So, like, that part of, like, a quote-unquote deployment was very real because, you know, she's got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm active in their life at that point. And, like, pull into her house. I'm like, hey, like, I'm leaving tomorrow for Washington, D.C. For what? Like, what? And I'm like, I'm getting activated. Like, I have to go get a haircut. You know, like, I'm leaving.
But getting down there, I'm not going to let you dance around. Getting down there.
Yeah, I think.
What did you think it really was?
So,
because you watch it from TV, you watch these videos where these cops, and I know some park police cops, dude. I won't name any names, but you know, you had this like pardon of the sea, and they just let these people roll in, and they walk that dude with that Viking shit down into the quarters. It's like, what the fuck was going on?
I didn't have the luxury at the time of seeing it unfold on TV.
Yeah.
So my experience there, you know, and talking with some of the cops who were there, you know, and I still have, you know, we did a badge, you know, a patch chain, you know, exchange, which, you know, a lot of guys in law enforcement and military will do. And talking to that guy about what that day was like that dude's experience that day was real.
Yeah.
And he was beat up, and, you know, I think if I had to guess, he was probably a pretty right-leaning individual just based on the conversation we were having. And, you know, he said, he's like, you know, I was getting hit with an American flag. So whether or not there were people in the crowd, like, you know,
agitators,
whatever, right? Like, whatever that may have been, there were cops beaten with American flags that day.
Yeah, but who was that? I mean, you don't know who that was it?
I think if you take a look at some of the people who since then have been criminally charged and, you know, their backgrounds, a lot of them were right-leaning individuals. You know, so that's their history, that's their past. Now, that day where they amped up to do whatever they did by people in the crowd, I don't know. You know, I don't think so. You know, I think some people got wrapped up that day in whatever the hell was going on with the media and the Republicans and the Democrats. And, like, dude, at the end of the day, cops were beaten with American flags.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's breaking a window at the United States Capitol, like, you could be the biggest Trump supporter on the planet. You're not going to break a window at the United States Capitol with a fire extinguisher and go through it.
No.
Like, you're just not. So, you know, I think bad stuff happened that day. I think, like, so many aspects of our culture are to blame. You know, I think everybody, it's the easy thing is, oh, it's Trump's fault. Like, that's an easy thing for people to say. I think that's lazy. I think you have to take a much deeper look, and I
don't think it's lazy. I think it's tactful. I think it's purposeful.
Yeah, but I do think it's lazy. Like, I think it's very easy to say, like, oh, it's Trump's fault.
Lazy
like,
for the viewers to do.
Yeah, and you know, and then it's very easy to also say, like, oh, well, you know, it's that person's fault. And I remember I sent an email when I was working for Congressman MacArthur. We were at a park in Toms River, Huddy Park. And it was like a regular, nice, beautiful freaking day. And we had a police officer with a rifle, a plainclothes cop, and another police officer within 5 feet of this guy at all times. Mm-hmm. Because he had so many threats on his life. Mm-hmm. And I remember sending that email and a picture of that to one of the editors for a very large newspaper in New Jersey. And this was before like January 6th or anything. And I said, dude, look at this photo. You have called this guy, Tom MacArthur, every name in the book. You have called him evil. You have said he's the worst guy on the planet because he has a difference of opinion with you on a policy. We now have to have 3 police officers with him in a park in Toms River because of threats against his life. So I saw that firsthand. I saw that in person. I took those phone calls. I was dealing with the Capitol Police every other day as a representative for a congressman. So that bubble up to like January 6th didn't just happen when Trump gave a speech that day. You know,
No, it was boiling over for 10 plus years.
Yes. So, like that's what I'll say about it. You know, again, like I didn't have the luxury of watching it on TV. I was loading a rifle on the steps of the Capitol. You know, and then I'm watching like people on the internet saying, "Oh, these military people don't even have ammo." Like, dude, no, we just didn't have our mags and our weapons. You know what I mean? Like it was like we weren't walking around the Capitol building with mags and our weapons. They were in our pocket.
It was just strange.
It was strange. Look,
all
I
of a
get
sudden
it.
you're putting
Yep.
the fencing and
Yep.
you know, it was just.
I get it.
It was a show after the show, and not that it didn't, you know, that cop didn't get punched in the face, and not that there wasn't people there that, you know, did stupid shit that was illegal. This is a weird time in our country, but it's cool that you served. It's cool that you got some experience at that later date in life, because I do think about that, like, man, I should have served more. And I actually see a lot of wealthy guys. They get real close with a lot of guys in the SEAL communities and, you know, specialized ops and Green Berets, because they want to feel a part of that. They want to hear your stories. They want to help. And we do some stuff with some military guys. We did a men's retreat last year, kind of just to help some people figure out how to use a weapon or how to defend yourself. And I don't know if we'll be doing that again this year, but it's cool that you did that in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change. The only thing I would change, and this is like real. Like, I wish I was in Syria or wherever they are right now.
Yeah.
You know, I really wish, like, that it is very difficult for me to go through my day-to-day life. You know, you talk about imposter syndrome or whatever the hell you call it. Like, I wish I was there. Now, dude, again, it's very difficult to have a conversation with a woman who's 40 years old and 2 kids. But guess what? There's a lot of dudes who have had that conversation in their lives.
A lot.
You know, and
a lot that didn't come home that were before us.
Yep.
Yeah, that gave us these freedoms.
Yep. So it's very difficult for me, like, you know,
I think a lot of Americans can fight for our freedoms nowadays, not going to war too.
I agree. Yep.
Just standing up and having a voice and having an opinion and
building
volunteering in the community.
Exactly. Yep.
Being a coach, getting involved with the school district. You don't like the school laws, get the fuck involved, take action. And that's what this podcast is about. You know, COVID pissed me off to the nines, dude. I mean, I had a pregnant wife, teacher at the time, Matawan High School, and neither does she hold anything personally against leadership in that school district, but it was a fucking joke. You know, it was pretty quickly becoming a joke. It wasn't as deadly as they said it was. You had this ticker online, and you see teachers and cops and firemen and people who work for the government, military, being forced to take this vaccine. I'm not anti-vaxxer, but that just seemed super awkward to me at the time. And it's not just about the vaccine and that stuff, but it's about freedom. It's having the right to choose to do whatever you want to do. So I could sit and pitch online, or I could say, hey, I want to help more people find financial freedom so they're never set in that position ever again in their life to do something. Dude, I saw the souls ripped out of people who didn't want that vaccine. I saw the souls ripped out of them. There was something about it, something around it, whether it was right, wrong, and different, and a lot of people have died in a lot of weird ways since who had the vaccine. We
had guys that I took the vaccine because it was kind of like one of those things, like, dude, I signed up for the military. They have put so many needles in me at this point. Like, whatever. Yeah. You know, so I did it, you know. But, like, I saw guys who didn't get removed from formation and, like, in the military.
Yeah,
like,
that sucks.
And I remember, like, 2 of them were, like, decent combat guys. And, you know, when you're a guard unit, an infantry guard unit, like, if you have guys who came from active duty, who had some
They're begging those guys to come back now, just so you know. Begging.
And if those guys were real important to our unit because, you know, and a lot of guard units have like active duty guys who get out, who have combat experience, who, especially in the infantry,
Yeah, they stay in
who go in the guard.
yeah.
You know, and it, you know, helps you transition in life. It keeps you in the mix with the camaraderie side. And I remember seeing those guys get removed from the formation. I'm like, bro, like we just lost 2 guys who were like legit, like good dudes, helping other guys out, and I'm like, I'm watching it. I'm like that, and again, I'm watching.
And that's one thing. Imagine it's just like a teacher or a cop that's right here in Bayhead or Point Pleasant
I know.
or Matawan or Waretown. You know, like it was just shitty. So I, you know, instead of pitching online, it was like, hey, go take action and let me go help more people find out that they can quickly make themselves 150 to 250 grand. You know, if you don't want to make $500,000 or make millions upon millions, like I want to go chase down, that's okay. But you can go replace your income, and that's what the show's all about. And that's moving us on to the next part of your story. You continue with JCP&L, government affairs, and you start to, you know, kind of accidentally fall into this sports promotion. And I don't want to just generalize it. I want to make sure people understand what you do. So like Steiner Sports and a lot of these things that have been out here around the Northeast that we're all aware of, it's, you know, taking athletes like the Yankees. You work a lot with the New York Yankees, football, New York Giants and Jets players, retired and current players, and you bring them to events. And it's either signings, talkings, or, you know, they're just there to hang out for the event, to help promote the place, to help promote a cause, or their business. And it's pretty cool. How did you fall into that?
We talk about ADD.
That's
you know, dude, like, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm like, man, I used to host town hall meetings with the governor of the state of New Jersey, and like it can't be that hard to do something with the Yankee. And I like did that like Gary V or like online entrepreneur thing. It's like, oh, just send the email, send the DM, send the LinkedIn messages, and I did. You know, and I remember like I sent probably a couple dozen of those messages, emails, texts, whatever. And one dude gets back to me.
To who? Were you sending it to?
Agencies, agents. But again, like, they're like, who is this? Like, think about, like, what these agents and agencies get in every day. Like, I'm not talking to this guy, like, I've never heard of or who's ever done anything. And one guy gets back to me, and it's Brandon Steiner from then Steiner Sports. At the time, you know, of our growing up, he was with Steiner Sports. At this point, he's with a new company called Collectible Exchange. And you know, we end up getting on the phone like that day. And to show you like sales, like that's a dude who like sold Yankee Stadium by the grain of sand, you know, like.
And made millions.
And
kudos to him.
Exactly. And he like is on the phone with some random guy at the Jersey Shore who's like, hey, I think I can put together an event with a Yankee if you give me the chance. Like 5 hours after I sent that email, he's on the phone with me. And he says, hey, you know, we got Oswaldo Cabrera's coming in town in 3.5 weeks. If you want to do it, it's yours. I'm like, okay, like how much? Like send me the contract. He tells me the number, and I'm like, all right, cool, like let's do it. And he's like you understand, like you need to give me a check that day. Like this isn't like, oh, sorry, man. Like, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm good. Like I'll get there. And dude, I just put my like hustle / politics hat on / like, all right,
working.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, what do you do? And I remember I called Jill. I'm like, yo, this was either brilliant or really stupid. And she's like, you'll do it. Like, you'll probably like your wife. Like, how many times she's like,
of course,
dude, you'll figure it out. Yeah.
It's like throwing the event again. It's like, fuck, did I just do this? I gotta put asses in the seats.
Yeah. She's like, you know, I'm sure she's like, oh yeah, dude, great idea. And bro, I remember like I went to Jersey Shore Supplements. You know those guys, Brian over there?
Yeah.
And I go in the warehouse.
And it was good number 2 or number 3, whatever his position is, Brian Forrest.
Okay.
Really good dude.
Great dudes over there, man. And so I go to Brian, who's
Matt Forrest, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah. Yep. And I go to Brian and I'm like, dude, I just booked this thing and I need some sponsors. He's like, all right, well, like what do you got? And I'm like, how about this? You tell me what you want to do. You tell me how much it's worth to you, and that's your sponsorship level. And he starts laughing. He's like, Frank, here's what I'm good for. Can I just like dab the guy up, give him a bag of my protein, and you just get a bunch of kids there? I'm like, in. You know, and the number he told me, I'm like, bro, like, let's go. Like, I'll never forget the feeling leaving there. I'm like, all right, man, like, I'm not going to lose.
I can do it.
I got, like, and then I call another buddy who's, you know, involved in different community organizations, and I tell him what this guy's in for. He's like, bro, I'll match it. I'm in. Like, this is great. I'm in. I'm like, all right. Like,
I can do this. Well, you've raised money before, right?
Yes,
You did, you know,
yes.
campaigns and
Yep.
fundraising.
Yeah,
It's-
and dude, that first event we did it in Belmar, and it was killer. It was
Where'd you do it?
at a place I was working out at the time, and you know, we did it there. And since that point, you know, I've kind of become partner. I've become partners in a gym. We had 2 Yankees there in a span of like 2 months. That was really cool. We had Oswaldo Cabrera back, and Oswaldo, dude, young guy, like from Venezuela. He's been in the United States since he's like 16. He was like the first guy I ever did an event with, and dude, we just hit it off. You know, we built a really good relationship over the past 18 months, and you know, like just rooting for that kid like crazy, and like it's wild like where it's gone, and doing events with the manager of the Yankees. And like one morning I'm in Tampa for spring training, and I get a text message from Brandon Steiner, and Aaron Boone is on the chain, and it's, hey Aaron, Frank is in Tampa. Can you hook him up with some passes or some tickets for tonight? And Boone responds back like with an emoji, which was really sweet. Like, just need a second name for a pass, man. See you on the field. And like, there was this kid I knew who was coming in. He's like a 21-year-old Yankee fan. I know him from Twitter, and like, he goes to all the games, and he's just like a young, rabid, wild fan. And I had known he was coming to Tampa for that game that night. So I was by myself. I literally texted Boone back. I'm like, hey, here's the kid's name. And then I call that kid. I'm like, yo, hit me up. Like, and I'm like, can you meet me at 3:45? Now, imagine you're a 21-year-old kid going to spring training, and some dude who you know, like, peripherally, you know, we knew each other by face and name, and we had met a bunch of times in person, calls you up and is like, bro, can you meet me at 3:45? We're going to go on the field for batting practice.
Yeah.
Like, so that even, again, like, goes back to that community thing of, like, you get put in a spot where, like, I could have been like, nah, by myself, or nah, I'm, you know, whatever.
Bring in a big wig or something.
Yeah, and it's like, yo, this 21-year-old kid I saw like that morning on Twitter or
You
whatever.
seem to really get excited off of, you know, giving to people in that nature.
Yeah, and you know, whether it's helping somebody in a motel, like today's Thursday. Yesterday I spent.
So you take your stepson to the Zach Bryant concert.
Bro, that was crazy.
Take some pictures with him, and
dude, that was, Big Rick, man. I mean, Jill's kids, Henrik and Layla, they're saints. You know, you got kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they're figuring the world out, and you know, Henrik and I would go to the Zach Bryan show, and Henrik just is like a cartoon character, and he's like a big high five guy, like he's leaning over the railing. You like Zach Bryan?
Yeah.
I love him, dude. Love him.
every time in the mountains, I'm
Yeah.
listening to him more.
And Henrik has really gotten into Zach Bryan a lot. So that morning of that show was at Prudential Center. We didn't have tickets. And I go on, I see the tickets like on the floor at the Prudential Center. You know, when you take an 8-year-old to a concert, if you're sitting in a seat, it's difficult.
Yeah.
But if you're on the floor and he's got room to run around, it becomes a little easier. They're like a G, you know what I mean? Like total. I'm like, man, that's a lot of money for one night. Like he could have a tough night. And I'm like, dude, you know what? I said to Jill, I'm like, is it crazy to take him? And she's like, no. Like that was literally the response to my text. Like, is it crazy to take your son to Newark on a school night to go see Zach Bryan? And she's like, no. So I'm like, all right, bought the tickets. We go up. He's giving like the opening acts, the high fives. And bro, at the end of the show, man, like Zach's girlfriend, Brianna, had come over to us. And Henrik had a white shirt on. And she's like, can I have that shirt? Like, watching you guys dance tonight has made my night. Like, I have to have Zach sign it. I'm like, dude, that's like, this kid's day is made.
Yeah.
He gives her a shirt. Long story short, like, she comes back out with the shirt. It's autographed. And, like, at the end of the night, the drummer stops and to give him the drumsticks. I hear this guy say, grab that kid, bring him in the back, grab that kid. The drummer picks Henrik up over the railing. The security guy looks at me. And he's like, bro, meet me on the side. Like, Henrik is walking down the ramp with the drummer, and we're, like, being escorted back to Zach Bryan's dressing room by his tour manager. And, like...
You seem to put yourself in these positions.
But, like, even that, like, it's just not... You know what I mean? Like,
it's cool.
It is. But
that's what happens when you put yourself out there, man. You can't get those things and receive them from the universe if you don't walk through that exercise, which I...
And you say that all the time, right?
I say it all the time, man.
That's a huge thing, and, like...
Dude, we sold this house to jump around a little bit,
Yep.
but that was me and my wife casting into the universe like, hey, we need a bigger house. Like, we're fully outgrown it. We love this yard. It's been grateful to us being over here in the border of Point and Bay Head, this close to the beach and close to downtown Point Pleasant Beach. The people here, the town has been absolutely amazing. Kelly and I aren't big beach people.
No,
You know, we love it. We like the woods. We like the mountains, and we couldn't find anything, and everything's $2 million, 2.5, and Wall has gotten out of control, and it's an amazing town, and there's a reason. It's worth the values that they are, because you get some privacy and you're near the beach still. But that's besides the point here and there. But I didn't know where I was going, and I get this off-market deal from Trevor West that he sniffs out and finds out, and we just start talking to the people, and they're going through their own personal situation, and it was never looking that promising, and we're under contract on that right now. And again, it's not fully done yet. It's never done until it's done.
Yeah,
and
never done until you're living there.
got the keys.
Yep.
But you got to just put yourself out there to allow the universe to reward you with shit. And I know that may sound like some foo-foo shit to some people, but I've kind of rolled that way, and I've manifested myself to be where I am today and where I'm going, and it's going to be big. And you have manifested that. You were the Waretown kid who wanted more and thought big and kept turning around and helping people, and that is why your boy Henrik was picked up over that gate, and you guys were in the back there.
Dude, and
it's pretty cool.
to that point, whether it's the house thing or whether it's that day, I make good money, but $1,000 on a concert with an 8-year-old, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That, I don't care who you are.
Hell
That's
yeah,
a lot of money. And it was just one of those moments. First of all, thankfully, I've been fortunate enough to be smart with my money. So I'm about 28, so the past 12 years, I've been able to make really good financial decisions, and, I've put myself in a position that, I can do that, thankfully, and, dude, you go to a concert, you never expect to be grabbed to go backstage to meet Zach Bryan. And the coolest part was obviously Henrik getting to see this guy, but then Zach's like, I want to have you guys back at his show. Tour manager gives me his cell phone number, and dude, these guys can blow you off at that point. They can very easily be like, dude, sorry, man, we're out of tickets.
They're just fucking busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And bro, they were coming back to Brooklyn a couple of weeks later, and I texted the guy. He got back to me. The day of the show, I told him we wanted to go to it. Lunchtime, I get a text hey man, I got you 2 tickets for that show tonight. And we went back, and at that point, I'm like, Jill wants to go, because Layla wants to go.
Now everybody wants.
Yeah, Jill's mom wants to go, so I bought those 3 tickets for that concert, and we end up going and having another really fun night, and the kids got to give Zach a high five as he's leaving the stage, and again, man, did I want to spend another $1,500 on a Zach Bryan concert? No.
Yeah.
But how do you not at that point?
Yeah. Experience, memories.
Yeah, exactly. And Henrik and I were coming back from his baseball practice today, and he's like, dude, can you put Zach Bryan on? And you guys got kids. It's and then he's singing Overtime by Zach Bryan, and it's like a, it's like a
surreal.
Dude, it's like a music video. Yeah. You're driving back from baseball
My
practice.
kids know all the words. Zach Bryan, Morgan Wallen, Landon Ammo, all of it. That's cool. So the promotional sports thing is something that really is, we talked about it earlier, an accidental entrepreneur journey that you're now heading down, and you've done some pretty big things. You're doing a lot with a lot of different venues. You helped get John Runyon Jr. To the event. We had him, sit on a panel. That was the quickest 5 Gs you ever made, John. You're welcome. But that allows me to build a relationship with him, and we're going to be planning something really, really cool. Some very high-end mastermind networking at a box seat at Yankee Stadium, which is going to be done through you and Steiner. So I appreciate that, and to business owners out there, stupid stuff like that. I know a lot of restaurants do it. You drive some traffic there, you get eyes on it because you bring in a big Giant or a Jet or a Yankee or a Met. Think outside the box a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
You're a regular retail store, coffee shop. You're into sports. You have that hot dog guy I think about in Belmar. I actually had him on the show. I forget that guy's name. I think Mike. Is it Mike? He's hilarious, that guy. I still got to go in there for hot dogs.
Let's go. I'm a hot dog.
Yeah,
guy.
we'll go. It's a great shop.
Yeah.
I hear it's amazing food. But he's a big sports guy. He's got sports stuff all over the thing. Dude, have a fucking Giants player there. Have a Yankee player there. It's unconventional marketing.
And it's a lot more attainable, I think, than people think. And I found that out, you know, and you know,
you suddenly think A-Rod and it's 70 G's, right?
Yeah,
it's
whatever. I mean, it's like, it's, you know, and to kind of take it a step back, like when the beginning of the year, when I committed to joining the pit, that was also like my commitment to, okay, like I'm no longer an accidental entrepreneur. Like I'm doing this. I want to be around other people who are doing it and have done it. And just a testament to the pit, you could have called 30 people to get a pro athlete to come out to that event, and you called me. You know, and that to me is like, that's like everybody could say it. I'm supporting this guy, I'm supporting that guy. Like you did it, you know, and that very early on in my experience with the pit showed me, in my experience with you, like, yeah, dude, this guy's, I'm very big like on walking it.
Yeah, reciprocating.
Well, no. Yeah, to an extent, but like, dude, what do you get? $150 from me out of the pit? That's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not even your phone bill. But it's more like you're saying you're doing it. Go back to my buddy Ryan. Hey, if you're going to do it, you got to commit to doing it. And if I'm going to help you out a little bit, you're not backing up. So, like, that's the thing to me. Like, and I'm grateful that was my experience early on in the pit, because it was a very real life example of anybody who may think about the pit or not think about the pit or not even know what the pit is. That was a very real example to me of like walking the walk. You know, it's very easy to say like, oh, I'm supporting guys in the pit. Like I do a freaking video conference call on Zoom once a week. Like, not to say there's not value in that, there is. I got a ton of value out of the call yesterday. You know, that call yesterday, I was actually doing it. It was in my headphones. I was doing it when I was volunteering with the Jersey Shore Dream Center. And I'm listening to that in my headphones literally while I'm knocking on doors at the Pan American Motel in Eatontown. And I'm saying food truck. What is that?
I heard car pulling in. Another video guy.
No,
Yeah.
everyone's like that. And, you know, you're doing that, and it's just like...
I remember our first phone call. And our first phone call is I kind of get to know people, and then, you know, I don't want to say check them, but I challenge them. And I challenge you. I was like, Frank, what's your business called? And I think at the time you didn't really know, right? Because you were
had
that,
the LLC set
I know,
up,
but you were still that accidental entrepreneur in your head, right? And then you quickly were like, all right, I want to do this, this, and that. I'm like, well, does people know that? I see you posting online with these Yankees players, but what does that mean? Where's the story? You know, get involved. And then again, we met at Jamie's event, and then you did get involved. And dude, I could proudly say that for a fact, I've created millions of dollars and generated leads for people in the pit and people attached to the pit. And that's a pretty cool thing to do. And you quickly learned that, you know, you got your money back real fast. And there's plenty more that we'll continue to do together. But
and that's part of it too. Like even where I'm at right now with that stuff with the upstage strategies and the events, and like right now the number one priority is not money for me in that. It's networking and proof of concept and like figuring out like, okay.
Just like I did with all this.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, now like the call yesterday, like I wasn't even, like I'm in the website on the pit, but like I didn't have the app on my phone because again, like I'm like everybody, you're busy doing X, Y, and Z. So I do the app. But that phone call yesterday, I have two big events coming up this weekend that I help broker the deals for these guys to come. One is Mariano Rivera. I mean, could you imagine sitting with Mariano Rivera at a table for 2 hours? Like, it's crazy. And then the second is with Doc Gooden at the same place, the Woodbridge Brewing Company. And, like, dude, Frank the Tank from Barstool Sports is coming Sunday to the Doc Gooden one because he's a diehard Doc Gooden fan. And all that stuff's going on in my head. I'm like, dude, I got to document this. Like, so I called a couple of the guys I know that do video stuff. I'm like, yo, like, you're coming with me Sunday. Like, there's a story. But you are a part of that, like, ringing in my head, like, dude, you got to tell a story. Like, got
to capture it, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Or, like, every 5 days, me posting a picture with a guy who plays for the Yankees, everyone's like, all right, cool. Like, you're with another pro athlete. Like, what is that? Like, what happened? Like, how did that occur? Like, what does that mean? Like, it's so...
Everything is storytelling.
It is.
Whether it be what we're doing today, the stories you shared, how I craft a story to you. It's no different online. And the way that people buy into you, the way that people buy your product, the way that people buy your service is showing them. People go to Instagram. Dude, my wife does not look at a website. If a restaurant comes up that we're not familiar with, boop, boop, she puts it in there and she's like, damn, look at this chicken parm dish, or damn, look at this steak, babe. You'll like this place. There'll be something you can get there. She doesn't go to a website.
It's your resume.
And that's and that's literally life nowadays.
Yep.
I always tell the older crowd. I was talking to a guy on the treadmill this morning, actually at the gym, and he was making fun of how much time his kids spend on social media. I said, you got to connect your mind to the tool. Can people spend too much time? Absolutely. Have I spent too much time at times? Yes. It's a tool for me now. It's like a necessity to work for what I've built and where I'm going and my plans for it. And if we're not using it, you're the old guy back in the day who refused to get a cell phone and still rolled with your beeper until everybody started surpassing you because they're getting phone calls on the golf course. And the deal that someone just tried to hit you up on the beeper, the guy made $1 million on the golf course because he picked it up on the cell phone. That is no fucking different with social media. And documenting it can be expensive at times, but you can also be crafty. Cell phones are really good nowadays. And pick up a used camera. You know, have someone who has a little bit of skills and knowledge in that area, and then go play with an editor, or ship it off to an editor, or find guys like Haas Media that I work with.
Yeah, and that's the cool part. It's like, but I think the cool kind of linchpin to a lot of it is kind of making that decision going into this year of like, all right, dude, I'm committed to this, and I can't overstate enough like the reality of what the pit meant to me in doing that. And that's a testament to what you're building, what you've built, and your proof of concept. And like, yeah, man, like sometimes I might be like, all right, like show me, like you said, like you kept popping up a little bit here and there. Like I wanted to see it, show me that it's real. Like don't, again, anybody can sit here and talk shit around a fire pit for 90 minutes, like anybody, but show me that you're doing it, and you have, and that's the thing. Like that's why I value as a guy in my network in my life now, because it's like, all right, like this guy's talking it, but he's doing it. And
my wife wrote a great thing for me after the event. She said, when you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, and that's all you've ever done since I've met you. And I do talk shit because you got to punch above your weight sometimes when you're trying to prove concept, and it's fun for me. Turning around and help. I had someone write me a letter. I won't say who it is, but someone in the pit. Even brought like a tear to my eye. Like that, what it has done for his life, the relentless pursuit of what I'm doing and documenting it and putting it out there, the lifestyle stuff, the education stuff, the pit, the events. Like it's been life-changing for this guy, his wife, and his family. Like that's the mission we're on. And people way before us, that's what they did.
Sure. Like
you're doing. Turn around, bring that 21-year-old kid to the batting practice. Dude, this has been a great conversation. I want to ask 2 questions as we end. First question is, if anybody who's pursuing anything outside of the norm and becoming an entrepreneur or becoming someone that wants to pursue a side hustle and build that off-ramp to eventually make that maybe their main hustle, what's the one thing you would tell them?
Got to bleed it, I feel like, right? Like that's kind of, you got to do it. I mean, it's like we talked about like earlier about politics. Like if 98 doors need to get knocked on that day, guess what? You got to knock on them.
Yeah.
So that is the thing I've found early on in this. Like, you got to do it, because it's very easy to sit around and be like, oh, it's too hard, or it's too this, or it's too that. You got to do it. And I think the other thing too, Ryan, you could probably speak to this, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but like you said, like sometimes you can like punch up.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like you end up.
You punched up reaching out to Steiner Sports.
Dude, exactly. Yeah. Can't be afraid to do like the nitty gritty, like the X's and O's stuff that needs to get done as you're building it. And bro, a perfect example of this, and if we have a second, I'll go into the story, and I'll make it quick. Steiner, like very early in our relationship, asked me to pick a bunch of stuff up on a Sunday morning in Rutherford at the mall, or American Dream Mall. I don't know what I'm picking up. He's like, hey, can you Jill and I had taken the kids to the Yankee autograph signing on Saturday, whatever. And we stayed in a hotel that night that had a pool up north, just to let the kids swim in the pool. And he's like, hey, can you help me out Sunday morning picking up this stuff in East Rutherford, drive it to my office in Yonkers? I said to Jill, I'm like, dude, like, if you need to take your car, I'll rent one. Like, I'm going to go. I'm going to see what this is about. I'm going to do it. She's like, no, just go. Like, keep me posted on what the day looks like. I'll hang out with my friend, whatever. Go to the American Dream Mall. I pick up all these boxes. I'm like carrying them down the freaking stairs on escalator. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking 38 years old or 39 years old, like running errands for somebody on a Sunday morning, you know? Get all the stuff in Jill's car, Kia Telluride. I get to Yonkers. Guy answers the door. Steiner's not even there. Guy answers the door. He's like, "Are you the guy who's helping out today?" I'm like, "I guess." I'm like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "Oh, all those boxes you just picked up? Paul O'Neill's coming to sign everything in them."
Pretty cool.
So I'm sitting there with Paul O'Neill in Brandon Steiner's office, who had to sign like 550 items, which takes a good 2.5, 3 hours. And building a relationship with Paul O'Neill, who's pretty big, like pro-military guy, so we're talking about that. And like that day led to Paul O'Neill doing an event with me at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park. Now you're a shore guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Could you imagine doing run an event at the Stone Pony with Paul O'Neill? Mm-hmm. But like, had I said no to like, Brandon, I'm not picking up your boxes of stuff at the mall. You know, like that's stuff I did 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson a lot of younger people need to really understand. We're not above, taking any meeting, and I'm guilty of that at times because we're run so thin. Yep. But you got to put in the time. I think you got to take action, and that's what you've done, and that's what you did reaching out there. Second question I like to ask or give you is, who's the people you want to give love to? I know you've shouted out Governor Christie and MacArthur and some other people along your way, but
I mean, look, Outpost Jersey Shore, that's a gym. That's like been such a cool endeavor to be a part of with the guys Shane and Rob over there. Obviously Covenant House, Jersey Shore Dream Center. My family, my brother's a cop, my sister's a nurse. Those are people who,
serving as well.
Bro, exactly. They are like, we could sit around here and talk as much shit as we want. Like, they're out there, like, dude, you know what I mean? My brother, I don't know, it's Thursday, so I think that dude's driving around a cop car right now, like, with his gun in his hip, bothering him, his vest riding his back, And, obviously Jill and the kids are just such rock stars. And, it's just family, man.
I think you're going to do big things. If you stay focused on this, you could really take it to another level. I know we're going to do some stuff together with you and your team.
And I appreciate that.
I know you do. And listen, it's been helpful to me. Yep. I do have a lot of contacts. I'm sure I can go find it in other areas, but you're somebody in the pit. You're somebody in this ecosystem. I appreciate you. And again, cheers. It was great.
It's a good day for a good day, baby.
Yes.